What's up, guys? Bailey here. So today in this video, I'm going to be doing the best non-title fights in UFC of all time. Basically, my criteria is just essentially they were fighting for a title, except there wasn't a title on the line. You know, but yet the quality's the same as a championship fight. I think that my picks are pretty unanimous. I think that everybody, for the most part, will agree. All right, so starting off with my list, I got Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor, the first fight. It was a funny and true rivalry when Nate Diaz called out McGregor, and McGregor's just trash-talking insults to Diaz throughout the entire rivalry leading up to this fight. It was just funny, and it was entertaining. It was true. They both just brought out the absolute best in each other, and if you know, it's even. It's 1-1. It's a win-win. You know, if you're a McGregor fan, if you're a Diaz fan, or if you're me and you like them both for their own reasons, it's just a win-win. You know, but this first fight really epitomized, you know, the rivalry. You know, and both guys were in their prime. And what's funny is, like I said, this wasn't for a title, you know, and I know that's what the whole list says, but I'm going to reiterate this as I'm talking about these fights. Like, you know, fuck it. It really wasn't for a title. A title was not on the line. And it just amazes me how they put on, I think, a better quality fight then than some of the championship fights now. That's just me. Next, we got Nick Diaz versus Paul Daly. Now, I know this is a Bellator fight, I'm pretty sure. But UFC posted it on their channel, so I don't know if this counts or not, but I'm going to count it because they did. This fight was an absolute war, and they showed heart and passion from both sides. You know, Paul Daly comes out smoking against Nick Diaz, and actually hurts him and folds him, flats him out on his belly. Nick Diaz is down, and Paul Daly's chasing the finish, and Diaz is moving his head when he's down, gets back up and perseveres and ends the fight. And actually knocked out Paul Daly. You know, he hits him with a big shot. Daly goes flying back, ground and pound, and that was all she wrote. And this fight was only one round, by the way. I highly recommend you guys to go just check out these fights. I mean, because you'll know what I'm talking about. And like I said, the fight was only one round, and it epitomized both fighters. You know, when I think of Nick Diaz, you know, Paul Daly individually, what is the most notable fight? This has to be one of them. This has to be one of them. And if it's not, fuck, I'm sorry, dude, but you're just wrong. Next is Stephen Bonner versus Forrest Griffin. R.I.P. to Bonner, man. He was an absolute legend. And Forrest Griffin too, man. He's a legend as well. I actually have this alter ego in the game. What things about this fight, man? I mean, what can I say that has been said before? You know, these two guys left nothing in the tank at all, man. It was a slugfest, and they just completely left everything out all on the line. And they had nothing left at the end. And the thing is that this fight was the Ultimate Fighter fight. It wasn't even a championship fight, a main event on a big card kind of fight, two ranked opponents fight. This was the Ultimate Fighter. This was, in terms of the food chain of the UFC, you're the lowest of the low. You're on bottom, dude. And they saved the UFC with this fight because they were kind of going under at the time period of this fight. And then this fight happened, and it just completely rejuvenated the UFC. And after that, both guys got contracts, you know, and it just, at the end of the day, it was an amazing fight, slugfest, and you can just see these two going at it, left nothing out there, and highly recommend you guys, highly recommend you to go watch this fight. Next, Dan Henderson and Shogun Rua. Now, I haven't seen this fight get talked about very much in terms of non-title fights, you know, and I think this fight was a fucking war. Two veterans of the game who fought in pride. Probably the most dangerous organization to ever exist in the world of mixed martial arts, even to this day. Two veterans of that come over and they go the distance and fight. And there were so many close calls in here. I mean, and just look at this photo of when, I mean, the aftermath during the fight. It just shows. And when I think of a fight that just epitomizes the UFC at that time period, I would show them this fight. And really, I think, you know, you show any new fan this fight, and they'll immediately just be turned on by it. They'll be like, yeah, I mean, this is great. Like, I want to see more fights like this. So there we go. Next, honorable mentions, right? So here we got Hamzat Chimaev versus Gilbert Burns. Was a phenomenal fight. And then we have Don Fry and Takayama, and the birth of racially motivated Drew Dober, or at least one of the notable fights of racially motivated Drew Dober. If you know, you know. I'm going to talk about just a little bit of it. Drew Dober got stung in this fight and got hurt pretty bad and almost got finished. But then, you know, McKinney, I don't know what happened, man, but Drew Dober just said, listen, I don't want to lose to a black guy. That's just it, you know, and he got up and he finished McKinney. And that was the birth of racially motivated Drew Dober. I don't know what he had against people of that community, but he just never lost a fight against a black guy. There was something about it. I'm not too sure. Next, we have Fry and Takayama. They both just slugging it out. Absolute bar fight. Holding the back of each other's heads and just whamming into each other. Phenomenal fight. Then we got Burns and Chimaev. Gilbert Burns, credible contender. And we have Khamzat Chimaev coming up on the hype train. And dare I say, I think Gilbert Burns won that fight despite the damage that looks to be in this photo. But I don't think Khamzat Chimaev put on a winning performance. But he still put on a hell of a performance for him being on this hype train. Now, number one fight. I believe this to be the best non-title fight of all time. Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier. I can't emphasize enough, you guys, the absolute violence that took place that night. Okay, the echoes of the hits. You can hear the echoes of the hits of them just boom, 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 boom. I'm talking just the echoes of hits just throughout the Apex Center, right? And it was a bar fight, but with technique. You know what I mean? It was heart, it was power, and it's what fans really want. I mean, this is what fans are expecting to see when they tune into a UFC card. You know what I mean? When they tune into UFC, they expect to see this. And this was during the COVID era. You know, and COVID era brought a lot of good fights, but this is on the top of them. And just look, round 1 and round 5. And I just remember Dan Hooker leaving on a stretcher, and Dustin Poirier's like, you know, he really expected to get through me, but he ain't no fucking champ. I'm the champ. And it just legitimized both guys. And I'm glad to see that they're both doing good. That Dan Hooker picked up a good win. And that Dustin Poirier had a great fight with Islam. And I hope that something happens for Dustin on his retirement. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it, you guys, for this list of my top 5 favorite non-title fights of all time. Let me know down below what you guys think. And if I didn't include some of these fights, talk about them. And yeah, let me know. I'll see you guys in the next video. And yeah, peace out.